When it comes to financial performance, ratios are important to understand how is a business doing. In coaching, ratios can be applicable as well. In this video, I'll share 3 ratios you can use to evaluate a coaching session to determine, could it be even better? In the world of finance, there are lots of ratios that are used. But what about coaching? Do we have ratios there too? Absolutely we do. We probably have many more than 3, and I'd love to hear your own ideas. But in this video, let's take a look at 3 that come to mind that are absolutely useful. The first ratio is speaking versus how much speaking should you do as the coach versus just listen. This is an important ratio, right? Because a coaching conversation should not feel like a normal conversation. There should be much more listening on the part of the coach to hear, where is the client right now? What's happening with the client? What are they going through? What opportunities are being presented? What's not being said? Where can we connect the dots from previous conversations to this one, or even from earlier in the conversation to this point in the conversation? All of these things can only happen if you're doing more listening and processing of what you're hearing than speaking. So what's an ideal ratio of speaking to listening? I'd say probably 2/3 listening to 1/3 speaking is a good ratio. I've had some coaches say 80-20, 75-25. I think I heard one coach say in a class one time something like 95-5. That seemed a little extreme to me, but I can tell you that I've certainly had some coaching sessions where it almost felt that it was that uneven, where the coachee talked almost the whole session and I just interjected a few times here and there. Find the ratio that's right for you. Evaluate your coaching conversations against this ratio to determine, are you applying the ratio that you think works well for each client? It's not the same. Some clients are more talkative. Some clients are more contemplative. That doesn't mean that you might necessarily speak more, but you might be silent more. That's another ratio. The second ratio is silence versus speaking. It's different than the first ratio, right? Because I just said speaking versus listening. But here, it's just silence. What should that ratio be? Where both sides aren't talking, but they're just processing, contemplating, meditating, brainstorming, considering new pathways, new ideas, new solutions to age-old problems. Much of this discovery happens in the silence. So the ratio there might be 80-20. We talk 80% of the time, we have 20% silence. As you become more advanced, the ratio might rise to where you have even more silence, 70-30, 60-40. Imagine how uncomfortable that might be as a newer coach. As I mentor new coaches, they often say it's difficult to introduce long periods of silence, especially in virtual meetings where we tend to want to fill the space, whereas if we're meeting person to person, that silence may feel more natural. So consider this ratio for you of silence versus speaking. And that takes me to the third ratio for this video, and that's exploration versus action. Exploration versus action. What do I mean by that? Well, think back to the second ratio. What happens in the silence? There is discovery, there's contemplation, there's meditation, there's solution generation or ideation. It happens when we're thinking. Exploration is thinking and going deeper. For example, if someone says, I don't know what it is, but when it comes to conflict, I tend to shut down. And I want to change that. As a coach who feels that action is necessary in a coaching session to move the client forward and help them to change, we may want to move right to action and say, what would you like to do differently the next time conflict arises? I would like to seize the opportunity, lean into that moment, have the conversation when the time is right. Strike when the iron's hot. Okay? What does that look like? And so on and so on. Notice that the coach is moving the coachee forward in the conversation to actually contemplating the next situation when this might arise, what they might do differently, what that might sound like. And then we might even move to, do you imagine one of these situations coming up soon? Do you have a conflict situation that maybe is a little bit past its prime but still worthy of tackling? That's action. Exploration is, you said you tend to shut down when conflict opportunities arise. What do you think is going on there? Well, I think I'm scared that I may say the wrong thing. Scared. Would you like to explore that more of what scared means? I would, because I feel like that's what's really holding me back. All right, tell me more about that. And now we're exploring and going deeper. There's no action yet. We can get to action later. But first we want to explore with the client. Sometimes when I oversee coaches, I see that they skip the exploration opportunity and go right to action. And the coachee definitely follows the guidance of the coach, believing that the coach knows best and will answer the questions that the coach poses. But then when we talk about it, when we debrief the coaching session, the coach will say, I guess I missed an opportunity there. And the coachee might even say, yeah, I think it might have been worthwhile to talk about that, but I thought we could do that in another session. Making concessions for the coach, right? Still believing that the coach knows best. And it's not right or wrong. It's just potentially an opportunity. It's a ratio. Again, how much time should you spend in a coaching session exploring versus focusing on action? I don't have the right answer for you because it so much depends on the type of client you have in front of you. What do they want to do? Remember, clients generally lead in the coaching session. You partner with them and move alongside them, letting them decide what will be most helpful to them, what will serve them best. So I'm not going to give you a number here as much as encourage you to bring this ratio forward to your client as you're starting to work together and present it to them. What do they think is going to be really useful for them? Should you notice opportunities for exploration and present it to them, because they might not necessarily bring it to you and say, I want to explore this further. They will leave it to you as the coach to notice things. That is our job, to notice things and bring them into the coaching space. There you have it. 3 ratios: speaking versus listening, exploration versus action, and silence versus speaking. I hope that as you consider these ratios and reflect upon their involvement and application in your coaching sessions, that you might find new ways to go in new directions with your coaching and improve as a result, and be even more useful to more clients. If you have your own ideas of ratios, I'd love to hear them. Please post them in the comments below so that I can check them out and perhaps present them back in a future video. I would appreciate the input. If you've liked this video, please like it, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, share this video with other new coaches who may be inspired by this content. If you'd like to explore working with me to learn more about what I consider to be great coaching and also presenting to you the concepts and the skills that the Center for Executive Coaching brings in its material, contact me, michael@BAECexecutivecoach.com. Visit the CEC's website at centerforexecutivecoaching.com or my dedicated blog site, BAECexecutivecoachtraining.com, to learn more. I hope to see you back on this channel soon and also in my inbox or in one of my future classes. Thank you very much.